Accounting for Growth, the podcast where growth leaders in accounting go beyond referrals alone and think bigger. I'm Chad Person, your host and the founder and president of Accounting CMO. Each episode, we bring in experts at the edge of accounting innovation to share quick, actionable insights that help you lead with confidence, drive smart growth, and move your firm forward. Let's dive in. Well, hello again, and welcome to the Accounting for Growth podcast. And today's episode is all about something that something I see all the time, frankly, working inside of professional services firms, CRM implementations that maybe don't always go to plan, that don't deliver what they're supposed to. I know my own experience having worked as a growth leader inside of professional services firms. I've experienced more than one of these where firms invest in a system expecting either better visibility, better reporting, better growth, but what they end up with is oftentimes little to no adoption, unreliable data, and essentially a large investment that at the end of the day, nobody really fully trusts. And so most of the time, I think the instinct, especially of a lot of the folks that are the ones supposed to be using the system is to blame the platform, is to blame this idea that a CRM system is should have a positive impact, but has been the platform itself. But in reality, the problem started long before the system was ever selected and implemented, right? In this episode, we're going to talk about CRM implementation fails and, more importantly, how to get them right in the beginning. And I'm joined today by Alina, Schenk, who takes a very different approach to this work. She's not tied to any one platform, not here to sell anything. She focuses on designing systems that actually align with how a firm operates and grows. So, Alina, welcome, and I'm glad to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much, Chad. I'm really excited to be here to be able to talk about everything.
Well, fantastic. Let's dive in. Before we get into where things go wrong often, give us a quick overview of the work you do at the Ops Architect and the types of challenges you typically help firms solve.
Perfect. Well, the type of work that I do is I take your CRM and I turn it from a cost center into a revenue machine. I take it from basic data entry to capturing the data. Instead of the headache, I allow it and make it so it works for you instead of against you. So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Yeah. No, in a nutshell, that sounds like a prescription that a lot of firms could benefit from. So let me ask you something. As we talk about, kind of get into the area of where implementations can go wrong, I would assume that you do both. You can come in and correct, but you also, like, the best time to bring you in is probably before you right at the beginning. Would that be an accurate statement?
That's very, very accurate. So two different ways to look at it is one, auditing a system that's already in existence, or coming in and taking the Rolodex or the Excel spreadsheet and turning it into a working system for you.
Gotcha. So that makes sense. All right. So let's start with the kind of the failure side again, because I think that's where most firms can relate. When you step into a system that's either underperforming or in some cases, I know I come onto them where I just feel like, gosh, they're completely broken and have been in that state for a long time. Where do you typically see things going wrong from your perspective?
So it could be a number of things.
Sure.
One, you could have an implementation that was never correctly done. So emails couldn't be misconfigured and that sort of thing. You can have pipelines that are broken.
Sure.
So your leads aren't moving accurately. You can also have people or staff, sales reps, that sort of thing, that aren't trained. Yeah. And so they don't actually know how to use the tool and they're not entering the information. The information's not being captured. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. And I mean, those are, again, check the box. I've probably experienced, hopefully a lot of, not hopefully, but I'm sure a handful of folks listening maybe could check the box on those things as well. I mean, for me, it's not uncommon to go into an organization that has CRM in place, but have never had any clear purpose.
Yeah.
for the CRM. And it sounds awfully simple, but I find far too often that you know, it's almost as if they invested in CRM because they thought there was some kind of magic that was going to be created as a result, and all of a sudden, the pipeline would be full as a result of implementing CRM. And again, the way I always kind of look at it is I see far too many firms implement a CRM but never have clean processes, right?
Yeah.
Either marketing or sales processes to begin with, and trying to implement a CRM without that is a prescription for failure. Yes.
Oh, very much so. I mean, the biggest issue is someone will come in and they'll do a free trial,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then they'll go, okay, this has what we need. Then they might upgrade to another level, but then they don't actually have anything implemented. And then they wonder why.
Yeah.
Why are my emails not here? Why is the note taker? Why is the calendar? Why are all of these things not in here? Not realizing that that actually has to be implemented.
Yeah.
You've purchased the closet,
Yeah.
but you still need to fill it with a lot of clothes and stuff. So you
Organized.
have to be able to
Yeah.
and organize it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of like where I come in.
Yeah.
So to be able to put everything together to be able to make sure it actually is working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, mixed again. I mean, and I think I've been there. Many firms have. I mean, particularly in the accounting profession, I often say that, I feel like a lot of firms make investments because they feel like other firms are doing it too, and so we probably should. It's almost like this desire to continue to be, in line or lockstep with competitors. But at the end of the day, my perception's always been, CRM is a tool, and it's a tool that's designed to drive visibility, right? Visibility into your pipeline, more visibility, and perhaps automation into your outreach and top of the funnel marketing activity. And again, I think the key, I think, is to have a purpose for the CRM. Understand that, at the end of the day, it's designed to come in and drive efficiency and more visibility into hopefully what's already in place today. You'd be aligned with that?
Oh, I'm completely aligned with that. And I
Yeah.
also think that the training
Mm.
needs to be there as well.
Yeah.
Because I can come in and I can implement and make sure
Yeah.
that your workflows are working and your templates are there. But if you still don't have people understanding how everything works,
Yep.
then you're still not going to be getting the reporting. You're not going to have the numbers. Things aren't going to be showing the way that you need them to be.
Yeah. 100%.
Everything has to be in order. Yeah.
Has to be in order, and your point on training is well taken. Let's shift to another, I think, important part of this that
Mhm.
that certainly connects with training. I mean, first of all, I'd said a moment ago, like, have a clear purpose for CRM. It should enhance what you're already doing or what you want to do as a firm. Firms that are looking to make investments in their systems for growth. That's what I do when I work with firms. And, a part of a system for growth would be potentially a CRM tool that, again, drives efficiency and clarity, visibility into the top of the funnel and, the entire funnel activity. Beyond that, though, like, to make that investment needs, I think, first of all, leadership alignment. This isn't a marketing, in my opinion, investment. This is a firm growth investment that requires buy-in and leadership from the very top of the firm down through marketing and perhaps technology and the execution, the implementation of that. But beyond that, I think one of the things that I often run into in terms of, again, not to say failures, but certainly obstacles in a successful implementation would be things like, again, I mentioned before, lack of purpose, but accountability, right? That comes from that leadership alignment. Um, you know, One of the patterns I see across firms is that, the issue is an activity. People are doing things, but the system itself doesn't have a clear purpose or a consistent way it's supposed to be used, lack of process, etc. So when you look at the systems that struggle, what do you see, Alina? What do you see as missing in terms of structure, ownership, and accountability most often?
One, you hit on the head when you have a disconnect between leadership and the way things need to form. A
Yeah.
lot of times you can have leadership not see the value
Yep.
in a CRM
Yep.
and want to be able to do things, a little bit more basic. But when it comes to scalability, that's not really an option,
Yeah.
because you need to be able to have anything and everything for your business taken into consideration. So if you're looking at a CRM and you're just looking at it for something very basic,
Sure.
that's not the whole point. Think about how you can completely change the way that you are doing business, because the CRM isn't just about capturing your leads and being able to move someone through a pipeline, right?
Mm.
You want to be able to track your revenue, correct?
Right.
But you're also able to do things like marketing campaigns and, like clicks and opens
Yep.
and
Yep.
tracking your website. And you can go ahead and have, your ERP system integrated. So go ahead and get HR. So literally you can have your CRM become a one-stop shop.
And,
So when you're tired of having 50,000 tabs open and your computer's tired and this and that,
yep.
instead you have that conversation, realize that the more you automate, the more you integrate, it actually simplifies and gives you more time.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, makes sense. And so again, you and I've kind of mentioned the importance of having a purpose, why to make the investment. Use, like you mentioned a moment ago, like let's be clear on how the team is expected to engage with this and what the outcomes we're looking to achieve. We both mentioned buy-in, right? Whether or not leadership and the team actually believe in the investment. It's very important. Let's maybe close this one out on the accountability piece. This is probably the one thing I see across the firms that I've collaborated with, and in some cases been kind of the CMO for that firm, and that's accountability, and whether who should be using it, and is usage enforced and measured. And I'd be interested in your take on this. I used to long ago. I used to think, well, you know, in a CPA firm, the CPAs are the ones that are the sales force. We often refer to it as a seller doer model. They sell the work and they actually, lead the teams that deliver the work as well. So every CPA that has, especially partners, they have a sales role. And so they should be in the system each and every day. And I was hard and fast, like they should be in there, and it never worked, I mean, and at the end of the day, it all came down to, look, there are many, many things, many, many systems that a CPA has to be inside every day to deliver audit or tax work to clients, et cetera, et cetera. They just couldn't create the time needed to go in and update, account records appropriately at the end of conversations with clients or prospects. And so that was a real problem for me for many years. And then I ultimately realized that, hey, it's legitimate to consider that other people, administrative people, could come in and make updates for them. And I started to expand the idea of how a CRM could be used. Where do you fall on this?
That's a lot of manual entry. I
Yeah.
fall on that all should be automated.
Oh, I
Like
love that. Yeah.
you should have your meeting note taker, whoever you're utilizing.
In today's world, you're right.
That should be
You're right.
automatic,
Yeah.
so you shouldn't have to be taking notes. Your notes should be
Yep.
in the contact when you open it up, right?
100%
All
agree.
of your emails should be there. All of your calendar and everything that you have going on with that client should be right there.
Yeah.
And the reason being, what happens, Chad, if Sam, who's been working on this account for the past 7 months, has a car accident and all of a sudden they're unavailable.
They get hit. It gets hit by a bus. We always talk about. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But think about it. So how do you get all that information if it hasn't been captured the entire time?
Sure.
You don't. But if you have a CRM that is capturing all of that data, you don't have to worry about what if something happens and this person can't make it. We have all of it already there.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about it.
Super exciting. Keep going. I'm sorry.
It's all about efficiency, right? Streamlining and efficiency. And if you want to be efficient and you want to be able to increase revenue, you want to be able to scale, the biggest thing that you need is time, because that is the one thing that you don't get back.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out, how am I going to get as much time to do what I need to do, which is making money,
Yep.
right, for the company.
Yeah.
And that's not entering stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So
100%. 100%. Yeah.
that's the
So
biggest
great, great, great. I'm so glad. You teed that up, and I think as I was framing that out, I was certainly reliving my past, which was a time when, regardless of how the data got in there, who put the data in, it was a manual process, right? And so, yeah, you're right. In today's world, with AI and all of our assistants and our calls, et cetera, yeah, we have the data there. We just need to connect that with our
Mhm.
systems, and so it sounds like you're engaged in with firms to be able to connect those platforms that are taking the notes, to, creating those transcripts and getting that data into the systems. Is that an accurate statement?
That's a very
CRM?
accurate
Yeah.
statement. I
Yeah.
mean, have I, put together extra fields in a dashboard to be able to track people? Yes, I
Mm.
have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of unnecessary if everything was accurately captured
Sure.
from the
No,
get-go,
I think
you
that's
know?
the North Star, right? For firms today is to be able to kind of take those notes and through an automated fashion, if you suggested, because everything you're saying is just, I don't have to tell you. I know we've talked before, but capacity is such a huge issue for the accounting profession and professional service providers in general. I mean, time is really what they leverage, right, to deliver and create value for clients. So no, I love all this. This is awesome, and so it puts us into a new context in terms of it's not so much anymore of like who's in the system and almost like some kind of accountability around are you using it? It's really today the success is automating everything, right? That's really where we're at as much as
Yeah.
possible. Yeah, yeah, that's really really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so um kind of closing in and continuing on this notion of designing a system, which I know you kicked off with saying, hey, that's kind of what you do. Let's shift to what good actually looks like. So you
Mm.
talked a lot, and I know I've been on your website about designing systems around how organizations actually sell, not just, you're not just configuring a tool, you're wanting this to reflect how they do business. What does that mean in practice?
So, I think the fact that I have a background in sales
Mm,
helps a lot.
sure.
My ability to have covered various industries, so I have a lot more knowledge, right? And so coming in and enables me to be able to oversee and understand a process
Yeah.
that some people may or may not necessarily have,
Right.
right?
Right.
And what it also does is it enables me to be able to ask a lot of questions. The more questions that you ask and the more people that you can talk to prior to getting into their system, then you
Sure.
can understand what works and what doesn't work.
Mm,
Because in the end, it's all based on what are your pain points and how can I fix them?
right. Right. No.
So, like if the problem is with the pipeline, make sure that you really do need all 15 of those stages, right?
Sure. Sure.
Like, are those 15 stages defined, or do you maybe think you could cut it down to like even 12, right? So
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's, with the company, that sort of thing. But let me look at everything. So for designing, you're going to answer as many questions as possible for me about this. I'm going to go in and I'm like little Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
and looking at the workflows, looking at the automations, seeing what's working and what isn't working. And then I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to let you know. This is what I was able to find. These were some really simple, quick fixes that like I was just able to fix for you. So don't even worry about that.
Sure.
And then let me provide you with an entire scope. So this is going to be a 3-phase series. This is what I, plan in the first, this is second, this is third. I
Hmm.
think that you would probably want to do an upgrade because you're going to need a couple different systems, some more than just like the basics. But that's how I design. I design
Yeah.
based off of a company's pain points and
Mm.
how to decrease them, if not eliminate them completely.
Yeah. No, I know on your side and through our previous discussions. I mean, I think like you suggested, you kind of can do an audit, right, to
Mhm.
identify kind of that current state and
Yep.
friction points, gaps, etc. You focus a lot of your time on, and then again, the refinement, right, the streamlining of workflows or driving efficiency in whatever ways needed. And then, again, sometimes it is more substantial, like in terms of sometimes you are going in and doing some significant re-engineering to kind of align the platform or system they have in place to their goals because it was never maybe well thought out in the beginning, right? Like so you can go from
Mhm.
kind of all through that. Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Oh, something to add to that?
Yeah, but also when you think about it, when you first go to a CRM,
Yeah,
everything is going to be set up in a generic form.
sure.
So they may only have 6 stages in a pipeline in their generic form, and if you
Yeah,
have 12 stages, then you're already in a situation where you're gonna have to
sure.
make adjustments literally from the very, very beginning. So
Yep.
bringing in a professional that knows how to do that
Yes.
is absolutely the way to go. If you are learning the system at the same time that you're trying to implement and automate, we're cutting into that time, right?
Right.
You're gonna spend a lot of time that you shouldn't be spending. You're gonna spend probably money on things that you don't necessarily have to do.
Yeah.
And the chance of it not being done correctly is pretty high. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it again, bringing in like myself to be able to do the audit and to be able to do all of the implementations is definitely the smartest way to go.
Yeah, great. Makes total sense. Let me ask you something because I know this is an important part of success with CRM and frankly many other tech platforms. But for the firm out there that says, "Hey, I think CRM could be beneficial for us, but I know I've got issues with data quality." What's your recommendation to a firm like that? What should they do?
Tell me more
What?
about your issues with your
Yeah.
data.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess to put a little bit more of a frame on that is, um, if they feel the quality of their data is is an obstacle to get a CRM implemented. I mean, and again, I still think it would go down to the approach that we've talked about, which is data quality. I'm sure is something that you've had to kind of at least support firms through overcoming that obstacle in the past. Yes.
Yeah, so it it is one of those conversations that has to be had every once in a while
Yeah. Yeah.
where I go, the reason why you don't see anything there is because it's not there.
Yeah. It's missing.
There is no data. There
Yeah.
is there is none.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you, but
Yeah.
that seems to be the situation, so
So when you do an audit on the front end, are you kind of taking a step back and trying to look as holistically as you can at all the kind of the different pieces of the puzzle that will
yes.
be needed? Yeah, to be successful. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me an understanding. Like, I want to be able to see your playbook. Send me your playbook. I don't care if it's 100 pages. I just went over one that was 100 pages. So
Yeah. Well,
send me your playbook. Let me see exactly how you want your company running,
yep.
how you need everything running and flowing.
Yep.
And then from there, I can I can map it out
Yeah.
in a way, provide that scope that we can go over and
Yep.
evaluate and determine how that works out and how it fits.
So great. What about the firms? And because this would be more along the firms that I specialize in serving, those firms that actually don't have a playbook at all and have questions on what is the best process for me. What process should I have in place? Can you help those firms?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because everyone has to start somewhere,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Everyone has to start somewhere. And so why not start at the very bottom with
Start
zero
clean.
education? Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of having to retrain or reteach or,
Yeah.
you know, delete or whatever,
Yeah.
starting from the very beginning, clean slate, that's the absolute greatest way to be able to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Great. Well, hey, so we've covered, I know a few things here. Let's kind of boil this down and give you another opportunity to kind of offer some guidance. So for a firm that maybe they're early in the process. They could, be early in the process of figuring out they need to bring somebody in to help fix what they've got, or maybe they're early in the process of thinking, maybe we should have one. I just don't know what the first steps are, etc. What should they be thinking about up front to avoid falling into so many of these traps that we've mentioned?
I mean, you could literally go as basic as, what do we need? And
Yeah.
make a list.
Yeah.
Like, what is the information that we need to have captured on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis? And then start thinking, how are you tracking it now? Are you tracking? Are you even tracking it right now? So ask those questions, find those things out. And then once you start, it's like any kind of conversation. Once you get someone talking, eventually they're going to tell everything for you.
Yep.
And that's where you get all that necessary information to understand what it is that they need and what it is to build.
Yeah, makes sense. Agreed. I mean, just start the dialogue and have that dialogue frankly, with someone on the outside of your firm, because we only know what we know, and getting an expert from the outside like you makes the most sense. So ensure leadership, like we talked about, has ownership from day one. As you suggested, let's keep it simple. I think that's always important. Start with the processes, like you said, like what processes are in place. If no processes are in place, great. It's a wonderful opportunity to determine what's needed there. And to that, like, I think it's important for you to have some sense of a sales process or a client journey in your head.
Yep.
And if not, certainly can work through what needs to happen to, focus on defining that life cycle with kind of an outcomes first approach. And then, like you said, I mean, I find I've been a part of this stuff like this where we're not talking about perfection, right? I mean, if you wait till everything's perfect, whether it's your data or something else, you're never gonna, to make the investment. Just keep it simple, build for scalability, build for, kind of a phased improvement approach. And I think you'll be successful.
Oh yeah.
So this has been really helpful. So because I think a lot of firms assume that, this CRM is a tool that again, I'll speak for the accounting profession. I know there's a lot of scary stories about things that have gone wrong. For anyone's listening, who's recognizing some of these gaps that could exist in their current process or lack of, et cetera, what's the best way for them to connect with you and learn more about your approach?
You can find me on my website, the contact us page, LinkedIn, email.
Give me your web address again.
So I am the opsarchitect.io. So everything off there, you can contact me through that off the contact us page.
Perfect.
Just reach out before your system breaks.
Reach out and
before the headache.
Make sure you've got a great blueprint and everything in place before you either make the next step in trying to improve what you have, or make the first step ever. I think is the same as well. So great. Okay. So hey, if there's one takeaway from this conversation, I think it's this: your CRM is only as effective as kind of the system behind it, right? And so if that system doesn't reflect how your firm actually sells, how it operates, grows, then it's not going to deliver the visibility. It's not going to deliver the results that you're looking for. So the firms that can get it right out of the gate, right? It's not, again, it's not about being perfect, but can make the right decisions, can focus on implementing a CRM to enhance what they have. I think those are the ones that are going to be successful. Alina, I appreciate you joining and sharing your perspective today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Chad. It was an absolute pleasure.
Happy to have you. And anyone, to everyone rather, that's listening, thanks for being here. Reach out to Alina if you have questions. And until next time, keep accounting for growth. That's a wrap on this episode of Accounting for Growth, powered by your CMO. We help accounting leaders break the status quo. Please subscribe, share, and stay sharp. Your next big growth move starts now.